Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Yeah. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be discussing some current issues here. Key among them, we have the president in China, the investment summit or the investment climate report is out, and Ivory Coast supposed to turn up on it will soon have current goal, with Ivory Coast threatening to cut off the light over unpaid bills of 19.6 million US dollars. Also, the senator from Gbarpolu, my own friend Amara Connor, is complaining that he's being distracted by people that have come to his office to beg for arms. These and more we're going to be discussing tonight. Let me welcome Dr. Abdullah Dukle, who is joining me tonight, and the rest will be following. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you, Dennis. Happy to be here. Let's do it.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Let's talk tough as we wait for the rest of the calling. Dr. Duke, how are you doing? You know, how's everything? How's the nation's capital?
Well, we are doing good. The weather is changing. I mean, I think we're entering fall, and football season starts tonight. And politics is on, left to right, red and blue. Kamala and Trump and Joe, whatever. Yeah, so there are a lot of things going on in politics in the capital, but we are enjoying the ride.
Right. You know, before we even start our topic today, I mean, you've seen politics for a long time. What is your general feeling about how things are in Liberia today? And if you compare that with previous governments at this time in their presidency, how are you feeling?
Well, I'd say the difference, I mean, every government comes in at its own speed, and depending how prepared they are and how fast they can move things around, people respond to them. I think now compared to EGS and compared to who came in as if, you know, I think Ellen took over from a transitional government. There was no real issues, and then it was smooth. And so she had an agenda. She started putting it in place actually she had an agenda long before she became president. She had a government ready long before the results were announced. So she didn't have that problem of sailing through from the beginning. I think the problem here now is with Boakai, there are two things probably in play. One is the level of expectations that have been generated from for his campaign that Boakai would change things. Nobody believed that it would be overnight, but people believe that it would be fast enough to change the mood in the country, to change the outlook of things. And although, he made some good moves, the ombudsman, the war crime issue, but problems have piled up. Details, distracting details have piled up. And that has kind of, been a problem. And I don't know if, one can say that it's slower, his transition process is slower. I always said, when people say 100 days, I say, no, give them 6 months, and after that, you start counting the days, because you have to know who you're working with, what are your resources, and what can you do, and what are your capacities, and all of that. So after 6 months, you're supposed to know. And can we say that, well, Boakai has now a functioning government with a new finance minister coming in and all of that, but I think the process kind of, for a lot of people, is kind of slow and sort of disappointing. Not disappointing because he didn't do much, disappointing because he could not, and there's no way to meet the expectations that were generated for this campaign, by this campaign. And that's the problem.
But why though? Why was so much expectation after he has served for 12 years as vice president, declared himself as a parked race car, and was not openly supported by President Salif? Were these not signs that really we shouldn't set expectations so high?
Well, that's not his. He can't say that, or he can't. He had to. The expectations were high during the campaign, and that's what got him elected. Now, translating those expectations into reality, transforming them into, okay, this is what you expected, and this is what I gave you in return, and then how do they match? I think that's the problem. I think the expectations were there because of the bad governance, of 6 years of bad governance that the country went through. People saw it. They said, you remember the bring back our money, or the save the state demonstrations and all of that, where government was so scared that people could topple them. You got to that point. So that means people sit down and say, okay, we are not going to allow any transition that is unlawful transition, to interim government or anything, but we will hold you accountable on the day of elections. And that's what they did. They did that. So they sat for 6 years in frustration and say, someday, because democracy is going to work, we are going to get rid of where. But in exchange, we are going to get a savior. But
And sometimes it is that savior mentality, right? That somebody will be able to come to
the old man will come, he's been 12 years, vice president, he's been sitting in the opposition for 6 years. So he's prepared, he knows everything. Those has he been, being vice president and being president are two different things, very different things. President may consult you, but you're sitting far away from the real center of power. President always say, we are going to do this. What do you think? And 90% of the time, the vice president will say, yes, let's do it. So the expectations were there, and Boakai could not meet. There's no way you could meet them unless you had somebody sitting there and say, okay, after your inauguration, I'm going to give you 500 yellow machines and 500 buses and $2 billion in the bank. You could do what you want to do. But that doesn't happen anymore because nobody needs political clients. Not even China. Everybody run to China, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you talk of unexpected things, right? Because when you're president, you were near President Salif, even President Sawyer. President Sawyer case was kind of a little different, but near President Salif, you saw that you come to power with a plan. This is what I want to do on day one. But things happen. And one of those things that happened, what we're going to talk about tonight, about the electricity from Cote d'Ivoire. Right? Remember, the president was there. Now we got a letter that says they're going to cut our current. as we say in Liberia. And let me see if I get a copy of the letter, right?
Yeah, it's
The letter,
already it's
we are
everywhere.
ready to alert you that the situation of the institution in our books to date, your outstanding bill amount to US 19,691,000, and all that, right? And this is not something that they prepare for, right? In fact, in arrest, we don't have electricity.
Well, it should be part of the infrastructure. Arrest is part of the infrastructure. When you say roads, but in the road, that's what I always say. First, I always say that electricity is more important than roads. Road is a peril, a problem for people who travel, from one place to another one, for a day or two. They get stuck in the mud. Okay, it happens. I think electricity is a bigger issue because electricity allows you to run the economy 24 hours a day, not 6, 7 hours every 24 hours. So that is the biggest problem. And taking it to Ivory Coast, I always said, I said, when they were talking about it, I said, you know what? When Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger went to, had these coups, the countries that provide electricity, like Nigeria to Niger, they cut the current because of political problem. Burkina Faso was under threat by Ivory Coast. Mali also was under threat by Ivory Coast, but it's for the same political reason. So if you don't become energy independent, you are not independent.
Yeah.
The roads you can always
Well,
manage. I mean,
was he blindsided? Was President Boakai blindsided by this?
no, he went to Ivory Coast. He went and met with the president of Ivory Coast. They
But he said he
talked.
was going to pay, right? And now he
Yeah, they
can't pay.
said we'll pay. Yeah, and they failed to pay. But in the same time, that's where some problems people talk about it. That now you have on the one hand, we owe Ivory Coast $19 million we can pay, and then you got $20 million going into some kind of road project that never worked, that you can't find, that nobody can find the money or where the money went. So you see these contradictions. These are the things that
Yeah.
big problem to Boaka, that you have issues that you can. I mean, they're not saying pay $19 million today. They say you were supposed to make payments.
You're right.
Yeah, and that has been the problem with the government of Liberia. It is sad to say since 1980, even though people may criticize it, but since 1980, the Liberian government has been this non-paying person, like we don't owe anything. We pretend to not to owe. Embassies don't get paid. Contract don't get honored. So we always have this fallout. So we don't. It's like we are not capable of being responsible with our debts. Because
Yeah.
it's not because they don't have the money. They could have paid that amount. This is not like yesterday. It was like July. A company in Ivory Coast threatening a government to cut current. The Ivorian government said, "Well, it's a business decision. We don't have anything to do with it." So you're stuck. So if you don't develop your own energy, uh, you don't get anywhere. I mean, we have the solar, we have rivers, we have everything, and I think, 2006, 2008, 9, he was about to invest so much money into that old dam because Americans wanted to be there. That's where they wanted to spend their money and send their people, and then they take their money back. That's what happened. So we start with Ivory Coast, and they're going to decide when we have current and when we don't have it.
Meanwhile, as this is going on, the president is out of the country, right? Because he said something very important. That is, we had 22 million, which the joke in Liberia now is they put 22 million in the mud.
Yeah.
Because he came to power with this thing that there will be no car stuck in the mud. A promise which was as ridiculous as it sounded, that he committed to. And so to make that work, he decided to renovate the road during the rainy season. And now you're saying, I mean, probably we would have taken that money. Another thing that was noted on this show by Attorney Konyene Fremont is, okay, we are going somewhere to ask for money, but now they are saying the money that we are misappropriating. If you look at the central banks, somebody did give this money, somebody gave this money, somebody stole this money at this. And why we are not plucking those leakages, we are going for some money for other people to give us. And you talk about a contradiction. So I want to hear your thoughts on that other contradiction where somebody is stealing the money. We put the bucket is leaking, and we're still trying to get water to put in it.
Well, it's, I would say, political responsibility in a way. And it didn't start with this government. Is that attitude that has been going on for many, many years. I mean, as you say, I've been in Salif government, and I saw it happening. Because the difference with Salif and any other people, she had that drive that she was, at least in the first, term, that she wanted to succeed. She had a vision. She wanted to implement it. If you remember how many ministers she fired, suspending people, she had a board. I said declaration. If you don't declare, I said you were gone. She suspended ministers, including her son. All of that is, possible when you have that kind of leadership to move things fast, to step on things, to step on the neck of people. But the contradictions are there. There's no way you can go around it. And I think that, Boakai, somebody say he need to wake up. I don't think he's sleeping. I think he just need to be more forceful and make policy decisions that people can live with. But for now, I think it's very difficult for him to. I mean, I don't know. You can talk. I mean, why don't you ask me a question? You say you have your own mind. You've been following these
And
things.
that's my mind, right? Because
Yeah.
I believe that apart from, because when they did the plan, the arrest plan, what they came to power, I believe it was inadequate. For instance, it first started with arts, agriculture, something, and then it went to arrest with 1 hour. Then later on, he added another hour, right? And he's still going. And even with that, he tried to make it look like sanitation means healthcare, which is not true. People are just trying to make it fit. Now you did not include electricity. Electricity is not there because you believe somebody's going to give it to you probably free. Okay, so it's not part of it. I have been saying electricity, internet connection, if we can resolve those two, roads may come a distant third. Because I was born and raised in the interior, but we have electricity. And because of that, the school was very good. So, and on top of that, already your plan was not adequate. He wasted a lot of time, to start work. And now there are a lot of things happening. It appears to me that he's not paying attention. The electricity issue, that's one. There was riots and killing people in Granjide. We saw what happened with the DEA and all these things. And even while he was there, which we're going to talk about later, is this SOE, too much money being spent on salaries for these SOEs. So apart from not being adequately prepared, he's not prepared for the unexpected. Every time something comes, it appears to me that he's blindsided.
Yeah, he shouldn't be blindsided. That's where you have, advisories and, from national security advisor to policy advisor to director of communication, who don't just sit down and listen to you and say, okay, boss, what we do next? They come and say, boss, this needs to be taken care of. They read society, they read papers, they read people's mind, they talk to the opposition, they know the issues. And that's what they do. They come up to you and say, Mr. President or Madam President, these are issues that we need to correct. This is getting traction. It's not good for us. We need to move on this different track. But if you're not getting that, I think, any president can be chef, you always say, I've been with president. I know how you can put a president in a box or in a cocoon and make him or her think that everything is okay. You bring the newspaper that you think are favorable, you tell her or him, or listen to that show tonight, or, we recorded this thing for you. So you can, because the president wake up in the morning, from the time you wake up till you go to bed, every single person you meet is bringing a problem. Every single human being you meet is bringing a problem. Nobody's bringing a solution. So the only people who are telling you these solutions are right, are your close advisors. And they have to be politically inclined. And I think maybe that's what Boakai has not been able to put in place. A real working team around himself, with people who understand the politics, people who understand the issues, people who know how to take an issue from the street, turn it into a policy, and make it a political issue for the president to resolve. So if you don't have that, you have these kind of things.
Yeah.
And I would say it. I mean, the president, I think the speaker, Dr. Pele, said it at her, on the 26th. You are badly surrounded, Mr. President. I don't know from what angle, but he's badly surrounded. And if you can't,
and Dr. Duga, we don't even feel it like the people surrounding the president, right? As bad as the we are government was, we were hearing that McGill or Tue, these were people calling the shots. We are not hearing anything around President Boakai has actually who is calling the shots and whose idea are these? Because as you surround yourself with people, there are people with philosophy. Or regrettably for Liberia, we don't even know the position of people where they stand to say, well, this person, in America would say he's conservative, he's liberal, fiscal conservative, he's believe in a big something. And so it's very hard. But on top of this also is the president's inability or his unwillingness to communicate. Because the speaker, you got a bulletproof it. Because some of these things could be explained to us if he were in front of it and talking about it, explaining it, but that is not happening. Yes, you have Pia at Mikat, you have Kula Fofana, but people want to hear from the president, and we are not hearing from him. We don't know what his mind, and people will come to us and say, oh, if you sit with the president, I mean, he has plans for Liberia, he has this, but I don't think 2% of the population is able to sit with the president. And so that's another problem.
Not even 1% can sit with the president. And I think I talked about this last week, as you read, I said something last week, I said, we all remember Talbot. He didn't build big mansion or anything. He didn't build big roads. But anybody who came of age in the 70s, you remember Talbert's words. You remember what he said, how he inspired people, how he told, either you agree with him personally or not, but that was real. You listen to him when he spoke, and he spoke. He had these phrases, these moves that told people, okay, yeah, this man want us to do something. This man want us to change. Yeah. But again, Boakai is not speaking because people are telling him, we can speak for you, which is a mistake. Because lieutenants are not your voice. The people, they're not elected. These are just people you hired. You hire them today, tomorrow you're supposed to be able to fire them and say, thank you, my friend, for your service. But if they convince you that they can speak for you, then you're in trouble. And that's where Boakai is. That every time something happens, somebody at ELBA, somebody on Unity Party side or PIA or somebody else will speak, but definitely there's no word from the presidency. We don't know who's running the mansion. That's a problem. Yeah. We know Boakai is president, but who is that strong voice in the mansion that says, things are going this way, or making the president to speak to his people? Because you're not a king. Kings will have the prime minister, and the king will speak like once or twice a year to address the people because he is above that. That's like, God gave you a king, but you're not a king, you're a president. People elected you. They elected you because they believe in ideas that you put forward. They believe in you because you talk to them. They believe in you because they were discontented with the old regime. So now you're in power, you keep silent and just making a few passive remarks here and there. I say no, he has communication problems. And again, that's a surrounding. Surrounding is supposed to tell the president, Mr. President, Madam President, we need to speak to the people. When we say we need to speak to the people, that means you as a minister, it means the president himself, you need to talk to the people and tell them what is going on, what he feels, and what he thinks are the solutions. If we short of that, we have this kind of confusion that nobody knows who's running the show.
Meanwhile,
we know Boakai travel, but that's
it travels, and he's presenting arrest agenda anyway, that's another story. Keep the arrest to yourself and say something diplomatic to these people. Now, it's all the economy. So, what the Boakai administration started, we had our friend at the finance ministry. All of a sudden, was there that he was not feeling well, and he stepped down. Now we have the comeback of Augustine Ngafuan. I think is to be confirmed this week or next week.
He's confirmed to. It was confirmation was today. I heard.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, his confirmation was today, and we started with talking about the money we owe Liberia's debt. So I'm thinking, okay, what is going to be Gafuan's priority? And let me show a picture of the finance ministry. If you look at any budget, the finance ministry has the giant share. But oh, I may not have the picture here now. But the finance ministry, it doesn't look good.
Well,
So what are the first time he takes to what? Renovate? He wants to talk about the debt, to pay our debt, or he's going to jolt the economy. What is he going to do?
maybe maybe get a smaller building and leave that whole big building. Get a smaller building, put one budget in one building, put the administration in one building, ministries proper in one building, and put development in one building so that they all work at a different. I don't know. I think the finance. I remember 2006, first time Madam Celis went to their place. She stood up. She said, "You know what? I'm going to fire all of you, and then all of you have to reply because I can't believe that 700 people work here, and then we don't know what is going on." And that was 2006. Can you imagine after that, how many people joined that place? You go to the Ministry of Finance, you will see people, 2-3 people working as filing clerks.
Yeah.
There's nothing to file. Everything is supposed to be electronic, but they got 2-3 filing clerks sitting in an office. I went to the controller office. I was looking for a check, and this was 2018. I was just about to leave. I had my last check from UNDP, and I was sitting there, like 5-6 people. I said, "You guys are all working?" I said, "Yeah." Filing clerk. Yeah, I'm the messenger. I said, "What? You're a messenger for what?" I said, "But the minister." So this is finance minister. So it's full of people who kept coming in from 1993 through the transitional government. Some people left, some people died, some people retired, but everybody added up. Nobody subtracted. So I think that should be his first priority, to audit the personnel audit of the finance ministry. Who's doing what? Why are they there? Why do you have 1,200 people in one ministry that's only writing checks? Because we don't know what else they're doing. I have not seen not a single economic prognostic from the Ministry of Finance and Development in the last 5-6 years. Never.
Even the planning part of it.
Huh?
I said even the planning part of it is gone.
Yeah, the planning part. We don't hear nothing. We don't hear, okay, this is the projection for the next 5 years according to our plans. Or these are the people these are people who work in the country now. Oh, the level of unemployment. We don't. We have no idea. All we know, ministry is paying somebody or not paying someone. That's all they do. So you have 1,200 people sitting in the building, rotten building that's falling apart, full of probably all kind of chemicals that are not supposed to be in buildings, and just paying people. That's why we can't get it right. They just write checks. We don't know anything else. They don't have any policy. They don't have what's the economic policy? What is the financial policy? What's the monetary policy of Liberia?
Here's the building, right? Where over, I mean, if you look at the budget, finance ministry always had the largest portion, right? And with LRA being moved out, I mean, who are the employees? Just like you said.
That's what I said. The people have filing clerks. They have 2-3 secretaries in some offices. That's the problem. It's when you have a government, you set up a government to run itself rather to run the business of the country. That's what happens because you say, okay, it's an employment center. You bring your friends, you bring your cousins, you bring everybody in, so everybody get a job, and then everybody else get paid or not. That's not a problem. People got a job, and this elephant meat mentality has been in the process for a long time. And
Yeah.
we don't think about it, we don't say it, but it is there. This is not how the Liberian government used to run. It was not like this. I mean, some of us have seen government under Tolbert. We don't remember Tubman, except when he died. But Tolbert, we saw the government. You don't just go into the government like that. We don't just run government. I think we still don't have in our mind what is the state, the function of a state and how you run it. And people just come in and take the piece of meat, the little piece on the side, and then go eat it.
Let me show if I can find it. The finance budget. Okay, like 2021, the total that go to the finance ministry is 47.2 million. 2022, 105 million. 2023, 106.8 million. 2022 is the one that we start with 2021. 2021, yeah. Jesus Christ. 47.2 million.
Okay, if they're taking $100 million, they're taking like what? The budget is $700 million?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine one institution, what they do?
And not even the building you can look at, and I mean look at the building. Is it not going to fall on someone?
I've been there so many times, walking up and down, running up the checks, and sometimes you go there and say, "Oh yeah, go to that office," like for 3, 4. Yeah, it's the biggest mess. Actually, I remember one point. I remember 2000. I think Ngafuan was minister, right? I was leaving the minister of. I was not at finance. I was transport right next door. So I saw this guy with a bag in his hand. I got in a taxi. He said, "Can I go with you?" I said, "I'm going down to Cinco." He said, "Oh yeah, can I jump in with you?" I said, "Yeah." Got this bag. It was coming from finance. I said, "What do you got?" You know what he had?
Money.
Payroll papers and all of that. He was taking them from the Minister of Finance in a taxi to go to the central bank. At the time, central bank was on Cote or somewhere. And I told the president, I said, "Madam President, I just met a guy who was coming from finance with government payroll. He was in a bag. He said he was going to finance ministry. He was coming from finance, he was going to." And then she called Ngafuan right away. But these are the things that happen. I mean, can you imagine that? And this was not 2000, this was not 1925, it was just like, 2008, 2009, when we had everything in place to do, things like that. So it's a mess. So I hope Ngafuan will not just go there and say, "Okay, I'm here, I'm back, and then I'm going to manage my $105 or $120 million and pay my people, and then, and just move on." But, that's like 1/6, 1/7 of the budget to pay one institution.
And all your employees are in Monrovia. It's not like education or health or something, or the justice ministry. It's just one house.
Yeah, one house. The House of Rogues. I would say the Cape of Ali Baba. The Minister of Finance is actually the Cape of Ali Baba, if you think about it.
And so that has been our problem, right? Where we don't do, when we are gathered, we don't do an actual audit, an actual system audit to really see what's wrong. The focus has been on, okay, who stole the money? I've seen a couple of reports now, audit report going around, and there's nothing about the system, nothing about the process, nothing about what's going on, and no structure. It's just, okay, who took this money? Let them bring it back, right? But there's no audit. Now, thank God the guy at CSA is trying to look at people on the payroll, how they're being paid and all that, and trying to block some names and take some names out. But the system just remains as is, and we keep toying with different things. Another thing we'll come to is President Boakai want to review, you want to harmonize the salaries of SOEs, right? I mean, when you get in office, what is the first thing you really need to do? To run through the entire system and see what works, what is not working. But you get in a house, you don't even check around, you get a new house, you don't even go to the attic to see what's there. You just get in the kitchen, you start cooking right away and start living there.
Well, that's because you think the system is perfect because people think that, okay, you get in the government, it's your government now, you can run it where you want to. As you said, I think system, we don't audit the system. We don't audit how things work.
Right.
It's all about, petty cash. Like somebody stealing petty cash. So you find it easily. You could do audit, okay. It's good they're doing audit now, but it's not just financial issue. There are so many ways to corrupt an institution.
Exactly. Because
You
these are
corrupt.
symptoms of a bigger problem.
Yeah, the stealing is just a symptom. You're right. The stealing. Stealing money is a symptom of a bigger issue that we have not confronted, which is the state of the states.
Yeah.
We have not sat down and say what kind of state we are running. We went from Talbot government, the coup d'etat, and the do walla walla, and then after that the war, and then Selitra to put the pieces together to get us back to where we were, and then so we are going on like pretend nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
Pretend nothing is wrong. That's the
Because
problem.
Dr. Ducle, what we always see is the people. Oh,
Yeah,
Dr. Ducle is there. If he's the bad guy. When he leaves, I get there, I'm going to do better. Oh, it's Weir. Oh, no, it's Taylor. It's Ellen. So let me get there. So we always think of personnel. We think of HR and never the structure. There was a time that JF, I think during the Ellen era, a lot of people started to donate to JFK. And everybody was giving out of this machine or this other thing. And it was always about machines,
yeah,
materials. And nobody cared to even look at the process to say, okay, how do we have a process improved? Because in healthcare, 10 seconds delay made a big difference.
yeah,
Right? So if you don't order the process, you just continue to throw material and throw money at things, we'll always be at this place. So even with President Boakai at the head of the thing, what is in his mind? Like the way he wants Ngafuan to go back there, right? It means
yeah,
that something he finds in Ngafuan that, okay, this is what he's bringing to the table. Besides, okay, he was there and now he works with African some development bank, and so let him come back. What is it that he's trying to accomplish here? To say, okay, this man is more, is the person he's replacing was from the central bank kind of thing. What is it about Ngafuan, or just the name Ngafuan and his experience? What is it that economic philosophy that you think he's bringing? He's going to always, and that's what I say, that it's always about people. We're just thinking human beings
yeah.
and not the process, not the system.
Not the system. Yeah. Well, what is he thinking about bringing back Gafuan? Well, well, maybe one is confidence. Maybe he trusts Gafuan more than he would trust anybody else at the central at the Minister of Finance. And also the fact that Gafuan was a campaign manager and Boaka is, as I always say, thank you government. So he's still thanking you people. So I don't understand why somebody would leave a $200,000 job to come take a $3,000-4,000 job, no matter what it is. So I don't know. I would say, hey, okay, but I trust him. The president is free to work with anybody he wants to, as long as he does the people's work. As long as he's carry out the mandate, you can pick anybody. You can take your cousin, your friend. You say, okay, nepotism. But beyond that, is the person qualified? Yeah, Guafanga, yeah, he was there. But then again, I must add though, you know, people talk about Minister of Finance, successful ministers and all of that. The president who appoints you need to know what is Minister of Finance. And Ellen
Yeah.
knew Minister of Finance. She knew the in and out. She been part of it. She been a banker all her life, so you can't fool her. Maybe not the case with Joe Boakai.
And
Joe
Dr. Dugley,
Boakai
that's
had,
a very important point you just stated.
So
What is Joe
the
Boakai?
success, the
Yeah.
success of Ngafuan was based on Ellen. I remember we went to, I went to G7. We'll talk about that thing. I went to G7 with Ellen in Germany. I was a 1+1 with all the president. Every president had one person with them, and I was her one person. They sat there in the room with Barack Obama, all these presidents for like 7 hours, lunch break, and nothing really happened. When things happen for us, we went to the airport. ELBC was interviewing Madame Sirleaf, and I left to go get a drink. And I saw the president of the IMF. He was a French woman at the time. She was walking in. She had seen me in the same room. We were all sitting around the same table. She saw me. She said, "Oh, bonjour." She spoke French. I said, "Hi, Madame President, Madame." She said, "How are you doing?" She said, "How's the president?" I said, "Oh, she's actually there. You want to come and say hello to her?" He said, "Oh, yeah, please." So I took her. We interrupted the interview. And she sat with the president for 1 hour and they talked. And when her friend was leaving, she said, "Okay, I'll follow up with you." That means she reached. So that whole meeting, G7, came down to that little meeting she had with the president. It happened by chance because I was getting a drink and she knew me. And I said, "You want to sit with the president?" And they spent 1 hour talking about all the problems Liberia confronted. And she was leaving. She said, "Okay, we follow up with you. Send somebody." So, but that was Ellen.
Yeah.
I don't know what took me there, but anyway, but that's the issue.
No, but so what is President Boakai, what is his area? Ellen would say, "That's my area."
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Ellen area is finance. So
Yeah.
anybody she sent to finance, she will check you day and night. You bring her a letter, she will know what is behind the letter. You call her to say there's a problem there, she'll say, "This is how you do it." She said, "You want to go to Washington? Okay, I'll call somebody at the White House. I'll call somebody at the IMF and World Bank before you get to Washington." That was her strength. And she knew the finance ministry. So you could not fail in the finance ministry. Even if she had sent a dog there, the dog would have run that finance ministry. Well, some people didn't do well. Anyway. So if Boakai doesn't know finance, Ngafuan success as finance minister would be that of an accountant or that of a personal finance manager, and not the big global vision of finance and development that Ellen had, because she put that thing together and she had a very good vision of it. But now
So when
it's
it comes
turning
to President Boakai, we'll say agriculture.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, because that's where he worked. He also worked at LPRC.
Yeah, he worked at APRC. He worked at and then he was
LPMC
minister of
agriculture.
he was a minister of agriculture. So he should know. He should know those, at least if those areas open up, and then he can follow the minister of agriculture, like if Ellen followed the minister of finance, maybe we'll get somewhere. But then again, you can be too distracted. You can be distracted doing little things, running to this meeting, that conference, and not have time. I think what we do.
That's a word you call, and that would be a segue into the next issue we want to talk about: distraction.
Yeah.
Guess who was distracted? My friend Amara Kone is working at the Capitol, and he got distracted by people coming in and asking him for help. And this is what he wrote. He said, "We've been recalled for our regular recess to recast a budget projected to miss revenue targets. But the trouble is working in our Capitol building offices can be quite demanding due to frequent distraction from unexpected visitors, people coming to ask for money. Senators often find it challenging to focus on reading reports or drafting legislations, as numerous visitors seeking personal assistance disrupt them. The plenary chamber serves as a sanctuary from external interruption. To ensure productivity, many senators, myself included, bring work home, aiming to strike a balance with their family life, considering the impact on their children, and blah, 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 blah." Why is my friend whining? I mean, is he not able to balance, to kind of manage his own time and prioritize?
I think
This is what we do every day at the job.
I say, I learned to sleep in a movie theater for 5 minutes and wake up and follow the movie. I don't, I think this tendency to always come on social media for some of government officials is not really what we need. I think if you have something like this, and I remember somebody was talking about it. I'm not sure it was Nyombli or somebody else from this house or the hill, saying that we have a number of visitors passes. So for every ministry, every office, we give like 2, 3 until those one are returned. We don't give new ones. So there's a system. So meaning that if you don't give authorization to somebody to come to your office, they can't go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I went to few offices when I was there, and visited, and sometimes they say, "Oh, waiting room here," but then I say my name. They say, "Oh, yeah, okay, we're waiting for you," but then they take me through different. So I don't think that's an excuse for not working. I don't think it's an excuse for not working. I
They
mean, you
got
can
what?
have it. You can go to the
18 persons.
market.
Each of
Huh?
them has 18 persons working in the office,
Yeah,
and still you can visitors
yeah, but
pass through all 18 of them.
if you have 18 person working for you, what are you doing? I mean, I know the Hill in DC. They don't have 18 people working for them. They have 5, 6 people. Every representative, 1 or 2 from DC, 1 or 2 from the countryside, and 1 or 2 in the office at home because they maintain an office. But we don't have, like in the US, people don't have 18, or the speaker has 71. What did they do? So those may be the people who are distracting you because each one try to prove to you that they're working. Not the visitors. The visitors, you can tell them, I don't want to see, you don't, if we put on you do, we don't want visitors today because I'm doing my work. Nobody will come to your office unless you think that if you stop them from coming, then they may not vote you again. So that's the problem. You can say, hey, I'm here to work. I'm here to pay you child school fee. That's not your job. But since they, running the campaign as they work, so then they can worry about people distracting them. It shouldn't be a distraction. You should just say, hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I don't receive anyone.
No, they have
Period.
2 days to be in their offices, right?
Yeah, you get in your office, you lock your door. Who's going to distract you?
So he was kind of, people complain, oh, you are calling Liberians beggars and all that, and he doubled down, right? He doubled down on it. One
Well,
thing, so when I was preparing for the show and I was asking people to say, but why did he know he served as finance minister? He was planning minister, finance minister. I mean, when did he get to know this? So does it mean that a finance minister, he had a whole barrel full of money near him, right?
yeah.
So he could give it out to people and don't mind, but now he have to wait for his pay. That's why it's getting to him now.
Yeah, but I think it's also internal. These are internal issues. You're talking about the system. How you run a system? You say, okay, uh, you say they're in office for 2 days, right? A week.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, for 2 days, you put a bill on the floor. You say, can we make sure that for the 2 days we're in session, no visitors are allowed on campus. The 3 other days, you can come and meet your people. But for the 2 days, you make it, you propose something, everybody adopts it, say, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we at least for 2 days, we only work with our staff. And that's easy to do. You put it as a proposal to the Senate or to your colleagues, and they may say, okay, yeah, it works. Or somebody may say, okay, let's do it that way, let's do it that way. But then you have a system. You create a system. But this is not a system. This is like, I'm going to complain and I'm going to get mark some points out of it. I don't think that's his intention. I hope it's not his intention, but it doesn't make sense. I would say, hey, lock your office or stay home and work and don't receive anybody. If you're a senator, you got 2 bodyguards, all of them got bodyguards, they got security people. You tell people, nobody come into my office for the next 5 hours, I'm reviewing papers, nobody will show up.
I mean, and how did people get into his office if you have all these people with you? Are they
Well,
letting them in against what you advise them?
no, I think that was,
Or,
I don't know.
or maybe my friend is just showing off.
Yeah, well, I'm not, I won't call him show off, but I'll say, showing something off. Yeah,
Something got to be sure, because it really doesn't make any sense that he's complaining that and then we've created this system that created a condition where people will come and beg you. And so
yeah,
if you can have that, that's your trump card for votes. Because
yeah.
if these people depend on you for their livelihood, and then in exchange of that, you get their votes, and then they keep electing you year after
So
year.
so you get annoyed because they come to you, but you can't kick them out because if you kick them out, they take your name to the county and say, "Hey, they made me. Oh, we can't even see him. I spent my last $20 to go see the man. He passed by me. He didn't even talk to me. So they not vote for you. But that's not because they vote you. You're not supposed to be doing that. That's not your job. Your job is not to give uh, 2 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents to people. That's not your job. Your job is to pass laws, to take, to watch this executive and the judiciary and, be on top of people things, not to give them $20. If you don't have $20 to give them, tell them to stay home. And then they will not re-elect you. Or if
Yeah.
they re-elect you for your work, not for your handouts.
Ladies and
They say,
gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday, and we're discussing a wide range of issues. That the investment climate report is out. One thing I noticed on that is and it's kind of almost for the past year I've been reviewing it, it's almost saying the same thing. Let,
yeah,
let me show you what I'm talking about here. It says, low human development indicators, expensive and unreliable electricity, poor roads, a lack of reliable internet access, a pervasive government corruption, constrained investment in development. Most Liberia lacks reliable power. Despite these numerous challenges, Liberia is rich in natural resources, and it goes on. A few large international concessionaires have invested successfully in agriculture, mining. Liberia has laws to combat corruption, bribery, and economic sabotage by public officials, but the government does not implement the laws effectively or apply them in non-discriminatory way. The late Flomo will say, "I know that one before you were born."
well, I would say, yeah, you could have written that in 1929 or
Yeah.
1954 or 2005
So
or
is it
2000.
because our conditions not changing, or they
Our
just
con-
keep the template and just cut and paste every year?
it's a template, and then they look at it and say, nothing changed. And, you got one political officer or somebody sitting in the embassy doing that, and then send it to DC, and they publish it. They don't, it's not like they do any kind of investigation day to day and say, okay, these are changed percentage point. Those are things that you see, when you government is not doing a job, if you don't define yourself, people will define you.
Yeah.
Or like my friend when he said, if you don't write your story, somebody will write stories about you. You know, if the Minister of Finance and Development will put in numbers every year and say this is what happened every 3 months, every 4 months, or if you let me once a month and say economic indicators in the country,
Yeah.
employment, yeah, cost of things, cost of living, or how to do business, then you will have this kind of report because we don't. When the last time you had a report from the Minister of Finance and Development or from Legis on any indicator at all, social
Yeah.
indicator beside election? No, nothing. So if you don't do it, other people will define you. And we can respond to this. Who's going to respond to it? And in our stupid mentality, we're so scared of America that when Americans say something, we'll never go against it.
Yeah.
We just shut up. I
We
mean,
just
by now, government's supposed to have been responding to this. Government's supposed to sit down with a team and say, we look at this. No, no, no. Our country has evolved. These are the parameters. These are the things that changed. These are the things that have evolved in the last 2, 3 months. And this is what we're doing. So we don't have that problem. But you don't have that. So, and Liberia, nobody will say, oh, American people say so. We're not saying they lie. Nobody will tell American people lie. And that's the problem because we're not doing our work. So
yeah.
if you're not doing the work, somebody will define you. And that's what happened. America would define you as inefficient, corrupt, and non-productive. You just sitting on top of a pile of natural resources that everybody can come and take it, and then you sit in poverty. Absolutely.
And that reminds me of I think we've heard you to talk about the report. Nobody is reporting anything. We have state enterprises that's supposed to raise money for government. Yet, they don't do anything. They don't give report, or they just take their report. I think quite recently I saw our friend from Water and Sewer, and then also from LPRC, they take their report to the president. But what is in the report? What are they saying? How much are they collecting? How much? What is, And then the other guy from the Freeport, when I say, hey, we collected money in just 1 month more than what the previous government collected in 1 year.
Yeah,
Right? But
LRA.
there are no reports, and that's a very crucial point that you raised. Nobody is reporting. We are not supposed to know anything. Even the salary, how much they make, it's not public record. We have to dig to find it, or you go through the Information Act. So here now, while President Boakai was away, it came that something that we knew all along about LTA people making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? And then the president reacted. And this is what he said, President Boakai has reiterated his commitment to regulating and capping the salaries and benefits of executives and board members of state-owned enterprises. The president emphasized the need for compensation to be in line with the economic realities of the country, signaling a significant step towards ensuring property, the judicial use of public resources, transparency, and accountability within the sector. Dr. Dukle, you've been, following these things longer than I do. When was the last time you saw a report from LEC or LPRC? Or no?
Zero. And when you talk about that, when you talk about what Boakai, his commitment to make sure that people don't take more money than they deserve in an economy that's not working, you look at, that's the first thing you do. You come in, the recast budget was not supposed to be where I sent, and then you change few numbers. You look at the budget and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to spend more than 30 to 40% on this budget on salaries.
Yeah.
You like it, you don't like it. If you are in the house, you say you don't want to, then it's your problem. You say, I'm not going to send $40 million to the house. I'm going to send them $20 million. If they take it, how they divide it, that's their problem. And that's his decision to make. So you recast the budget and you add the same numbers in a few line here and there, but you don't change anything. So that means you follow into the same step. And then he goes up. I think Boakai went to reduce his salary from 12,000 to 8. Which is good, but that's not what we need. It's like we are, giving football to little kids. We don't need that. We need kids to be able to buy their own football because their parents are getting paid. So you don't reduce your salary and say, I'm doing it, I hope you pray. No, you're the president. You tell people, from now on, nobody is making more than $8,000 in this government. If you don't want that, you go into the private sector.
Yeah.
That you're president. You can't say, okay, I'm reducing my salary. Anybody to follow me? Oh, I'm declaring my asset. Anybody follow me? Oh, yeah, I'm taking a drug test. Anybody following me? No, they will not follow you. Because nobody who has power to spend money they want to.
And they say when you are a leader and nobody's following you, you are only taking a walk.
Yeah, you're taking a walk. Yeah, they say he took a drug test. I say he took a walk. Nobody suspects you, president, to be taking cocaine or smoking marijuana. At least if you smoke marijuana, we'll understand why. But nobody expects you to be taking cocaine or, whatever, fentanyl and all of that. It's about the kids. So that's personalization of the issue, that you take the issue as a personal thing. Say, oh, if I do this, it's going to make me good, and then people follow. No, you're supposed to make a policy that serves the country, and that people follow, that people are forced to follow because they want to work for you. If anybody wants to work for you as a minister, you tell them $6,000 in Morovia, you can live with it.
Yeah.
If you can't live with it, go to Jamaica.
And so, but what they have done, Dr. Dukle, is even when you say that, they take that same money and put it in benefits, because I think it happened during the WIA presidency, where he reportedly said nobody's going to make more than 8,000. They say, okay. So they took that, put it in gas, put it in scratch card, put it in fuel and lubricants, put it in all kinds of places. And you can tax that because, our tax, payroll tax is very high. So you take the money from there, put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
And
but
I would expect that when President Boakai gets to office, that's why I was reading this. I said, but why is he acting surprised? Why is he acting like he's just getting to know this? When I see, demonstrate his commitment to doing all this, it's been 7 months. This these people work, under they report to you directly. So why is it that, or to the board, and they're working for you? So what's going on here? What is, and that's why I talked about being blindsided the last time. If these people here, most of the CEOs, you work based on how much you bring in. So if we could
yeah,
probably see their report and see how much the port is generating, LPRC is generating, LEC is generating, and then when you are asking for more money, in the case of Money Catan, making good money, then we say, okay, maybe. But nobody knows what's happening. And now he's reacting to the news because people were kind of crying about, oh, why they made so much money. But it's not LTA alone, though. It's
no,
all
it's
over
not
the place.
LTA alone. Maritime, they make, I think Maritime at somebody was making $20,000
A
or
month.
$25,000. Yeah, so it's this clientelism, I should say, clients, the political client, that you want to be nice to everybody. You don't want to break the vase. You don't want to break you don't want to break an omelet. You don't want to break the egg, but you want to make an omelet. So
It
how
can
you do
happen.
it? Huh?
It cannot happen.
Yeah, it cannot happen. So you can just sit there and say, how did we go from 3,000, 5,000? The first legislative after the war, 2005, was like what? They were making $2,000, 1,005 a month. They were happy with it. They had a little old car, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And now they become like little kings in their own domain, and even complaining about noise of the taxpayers in the building.
Yeah. If you have so much money, you complain
Yeah, you got
that
so much
people
money,
are
say, yeah,
making
I
noise.
don't want noise around me. I got to work. No, work in your office
I
like
got
you
to read
do.
my book, maybe.
Yeah, I got to read my book. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So they get too fat. So you have a state that has turned into a criminal enterprise.
So like,
And
in the case of this report, should we take it seriously then, or treat it? Because I don't think the president or whoever is in power is convening a meeting and say, hey, here are the areas that we've been graded and we score a D. So how do we bring this grade up? Are we doing that, or are we looking at it and say, this is not
I
important?
don't know what Boaka is doing, but I remember with Ellen, we used to do that. Every time this kind of report come up, the communication team will meet. Usually communication team was big. I mean, there were 5, 6 of us, and I was not part of. I was not. I was the only one from outside. I was not in the government, but they were all assistant deputy ministers of communication. In the mansion, foreign ministry, and LBS. And then we meet, and then we craft a response, and we usually respond. We say, okay, we've seen this, da 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 da. We don't agree with this part, and then we say that we have to do some work in this area, and we thank our partners for watching our system. But we are working. We always used to do that. Every time they came up with human rights reports, investment reports, we sat as a team. I think once or twice I was even in the US. She asked me to come so we can put it. I think that was one of the bad ones. She asked me if I can come, and I said, yeah, definitely. I flew home, and we spent 2 days, crafting the response to the US Embassy report at the time. But we always used to respond. We always used to sit, talk about it, and then take point by point and respond and publish it. But I don't know how Boaka would react, but and then, from Shirley time to now, we had a very good rapport with the US at the time. That you have to remember, the ambassador, da, 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 da. But at the same time, we did not fear America. We were not so scared about getting visas or getting this and that. It's sanctioned. No, we could talk to the US as we talk to partners. Many of
Yeah.
us had no problem with that. We had no problem. I remember even what's her name, uh, Pele, Robtail Pele, standing up to the president, advisor, white man, say, "This is my country, not yours. What are you doing anyway? Whatever you say doesn't make sense." And the president called her to apologize. I'm not going to apologize to him. He's the stranger. I'm not a stranger. So but we had that kind of mentality in those days. But now it's like, oh, you don't
America has
anyway.
spoken.
Yep.
Let's talk about the president's trip. The president is in Beijing. First, he went to Indonesia.
Yeah.
I got some of my when I was umbrella guy, we had a team. So the coach, two of the coaches were playing there. So sometimes I talked to them in Indonesia. So the president was there, and now he's in China. I mean, you can see President, First Lady.
Yeah.
A few things that came up when I look at the trip, right? I think President has made what 9 trips abroad in 7 months. At the time in the Salif presidency, did she make those kind of trips? I don't even think we are made 9 trips in 7 months.
Did he make 9 trips? I don't know where he went. Well, he went to Nigeria. He came here twice. Went to Indonesia, now China. Did he go to Korea? No.
He was in Nigeria. He went one place before this America trip.
Yeah, but he was here.
Yeah, twice.
He was here. He went to Gambia. I mean, not Gambia. Guinea-Bissau.
Guinea-Bissau. Yeah.
He went to Ivory Coast for electricity. Now they're threatening to cut it off. No, these summits. Anybody invites you. Is for China. It's not for Africa. The summit is not for Africa. It's for China. China to show that he has control over Africans and their minerals and their oil and their roots and their projects and 50 delegations and each one costs $1 million to bring them to China. And that's not money for China. $1 million per person for a delegation. Say, yeah, put them in a hotel, feed them, and then put them in a plane back. And then, President Xi comes up tomorrow morning and say, yes, I have 50 African countries here. And we can get all the oil and the water and the mineral.
And that's how they are even reporting it in American news. That, it's like they see this as China trying to gain a foothold or more in Africa. It was for China's benefit.
Yeah, I think it was 2007 or 8. I wrote an article on the perspective on U.S. and China competing for Africa. At the time, the investment level of the U.S. and Africa and the U.S. and China were almost the same in Africa. But now, China is almost to $1 trillion, and the U.S. has not reached $100 billion. It's about $40 billion. Actually, it went lower from 2007. Yeah. So, China got, they got so much investment on the continent, and, what they do in Liberia. I mean, nobody knows how many Chinese people in Liberia. People say they come by container at night when people are sleeping. The container come from the ship, and they say they wake up in the morning, they see Chinese people everywhere. But it's not the issue. But the issue is, how you cooperate with somebody so strong and so big, and who can control you, and who has so much money, and then you have nothing. I'm sure Boakai, the money that China spent on Boakai and his delegation to go to China, I'm sure Boakai would love to have that money today and spend it on electricity. But China needs it for his own PR. This is not truth that, I'm sure the government pays some of it, but most of it is paid by the Chinese people. So it's really for China, it's not for Africa, And he promised $50 billion for the next 10 years. Can you imagine $50 billion over 10 years to 54 countries? How an insult. The diaspora sends $60 billion to Africa every year. So you look ahead of state, and then you see how Boakai is saluting a man, the distance, and stay away from me, extend your hand. There's no, embrace. There's no, it's like the master and the dependent.
Yeah.
It's shameful. And 50 African president goes there. They go with a jets. Everybody goes with a jets, private jets, and go line up begging for crumbs when they're sitting on diamond and gold.
And this 50 million, it says he promised nearly 51 billion over the next 3 years, including 30 billion in credit lines, 10 billion in investment by Chinese companies, and other amounts including military aid.
It's all China. China, they run what they call the state capitalism. So the state run, you see Chinese people, anybody you see Chinese business, government is behind it. They give them money, you have to go out and make money and report. They lend you money, you say you have a project, they give you the money, you go do it, you have to make sure that project works. But it's communism and private capitalism at the same time. But capitalism run by the states who decide what happens when and wow. So we are all working for China. We send what? They say we send $50 or $60 million to Liberia every year, but the money goes into Liberia through the door. It goes through the window to China, to Lebanon to buy junk products. And that's just, I went to Dakar. I think it was a few years ago. I went to Dakar. There was this market when I was a student. We used to go to this market. And now you go there, you don't see nothing made in Senegal. Everything came from China.
Yeah.
Every single thing, the little toys, everything. And I went to Tika. Yeah, these meetings we were talking about. I went to the Japan one, Yokohama, in 2014 or 2016 with President Salif. They had a machine printing kente cloth as we stand there looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ghana Prime Minister of Commerce and Tourism was there. He was looking at it and said, we need to get one of these machines. I said, no, need to train you people that this is fake. The real Conti Club is made from cotton. You look at me and say, oh, well.
I got a shirt, a regular T-shirt the Chinese make. They just design it and put the African design on it. You see the picture, you think it's an African shirt.
Well, my cousin who worked for the media in Ivory Coast told me the Africa Corporate Nation last year in Ivory Coast, China, every single thing came from China, from T-shirt to water bottle to everything brought from China, everything that was sold. Not from France though, from China. So I don't know. I think those meetings, Africa, China, France, China, we talked about it so much. It's just a waste of time. Look at this. It's like, look at the position of their bodies.
Yeah.
There's a Chinese proverb that says, every time you bend down, someday you're not going to get up because you've been compromised. Every time you bend down, you compromise yourself a little bit. Every time you bend down to somebody, you compromise a little bit. And one day you will not be able to stand up straight. And that's a Chinese proverb. So we go there and go bend down.
How far the wife is standing too.
Yeah. Well, they tell them, you got to stand here, you stand there. They put marks on the carpet. You don't just walk in there. These are all choreographed to see his, now he's in a power position because he's slightly bent almost to, 70, 80 degrees, and Boakai is bent to 65 degrees. Since he's shorter, you don't bend down to a king or when you're head of states. Yeah. And every African president, look at the body position. He is the position of power.
And why is he not looking in the face?
Yeah, the man looking at his face and he's not looking at the face. He's looking at the man hand.
Is it to show submission or what?
It's a natural position of somebody who's submissive. I'm sorry to say it. When the bossman shake your hand, you bow your head. You look at his hand or you look at his feet, but you don't look at his face and say, yes, I'm pleased to meet you. If I go to your country, you're not able to hug me or put your hand around me and say, welcome to my country, and pat me on the back, I will not go there. In fact, I refuse to go to China. I refuse to go to Libya, and I refuse to go to Israel for those reasons. I said, no, those countries, I will never go there until things change.
Yeah, this picture speaks a lot of languages. Man.
Yeah, you got to, from a communication point of view, if you look at the standing, look at Boakai position, how bad he is, and compare, with his wife, and then see the Chinese first lady standing behind. You see the distance between them. So you can tell how each one is bent, how far they bent to each other. And you see Boakai's head. He's not looking at the man. The man trying to look at his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may try to catch his face, but Boakai is not looking at his face. Boakai is looking at his hand.
Transparency,
So, yeah, this is something I study. I know these things. Body language, say, 75% of our communication is through body language, not verbal. So
we,
this thing, picture
we may
is
not
bad.
know. We are 2 trips. Don't we
Mhm.
supposed to know how much is being spent on the trip, or you from the executive mansion? Is that something that we put out for people to know, or we're never going
No,
to
I
know?
think for the Chinese, I'm sure they pay for it. I think the Chinese people pay for
Or
it.
should we know that? Should that
Well,
be?
no. If they tell you Chinese people pay for it, then they have to refund the per dime and the money they get for hotels. Yeah, because I'm sure some people get ticket. I mean, Chinese people pay the ticket, and then government buy ticket, and then so the ticket money get in the mud, or somebody put it in the pocket, or somebody. But anyway, it's different. It's different story. But the trips to the U.S., I've known those were, you have to pay for those. The U.S. company will pay for you to come visit them, except if you are. They did it for Ellen a few times, but yeah, for the U.S. you have to pay. But definitely China paid for all of these things. China paid for your hotel, the transportation, they gave you the money, and probably you don't spend much. So, but the government, because people are going on a shopping trip, will give them per dime that exceed whatever they're supposed to get because they're going to China.
And let's look at the delegation. I understand you have 50 persons in it. And one thing that is noticeable is the communication. We often see that you have Jeremiah Jeremic Pia, who's the information minister, is there. The press secretary is there. Our friend Anthony Kessler, who is the public affairs person, is there. And
No,
the LBS director.
no, he's not there. He's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's here. I talked to him today, actually, because I saw Martin Colley post on him. And then Anthony responded. He said, "No, I'm in Philadelphia." He posted his,
It's
ticket.
okay.
Yeah,
And
but
then
he's here.
and then you
But
have the LBS director. So
yeah, you have the
are they
LBS.
trying to over communicate now, or what is it in China that these communication guys are going
Well,
to get?
president travel is always about PR. I mean, you can say you can justify that. They don't do the same work. PR is more policy oriented. Fagon is reporting to the base, but usually, Steve McCondo is the one who used to send a radio reporter, not the head of the ELBS. But if he went, that means he also brought a team with him, 2-3 people. I'm sure they could bring cameraman, they bring somebody to do reporting, and then himself. But usually, you take a reporter from ELBS and you take somebody from information to do writing, but I'm not sure what they're all going to do, but definitely, you can justify that and say, okay, any presidential trip is a PR trip. You go on a PR. How extensive that going to be? Do you have anybody from culture to talk? Do you have anybody from that? I don't know. Are you sure it's 50 people going to that conference? How do you know that 50 people?
Yeah, there was one report when they were about to leave. We read in the paper that there were 50, and so
Well,
we start to count. Yeah, so the number. But the bottom line is, should we know these things? Should it be something that they communicate, or?
Well, no, communication. Usually, president has his own staff,
Yeah.
which is like 3-4 people, and then the security people. But then you have the official delegation, that's ministers. You say this minister, that minister, and then you got all the hang on that you never know. Because usually, I mean, when you say 50, I'm trying to figure out. I say, okay, he's going to a conference on trade, commerce, and all of those things. He will need commerce. He will need probably somebody from finance. He will need somebody from NIC, and that's about it. But if you want to take 50 people, maybe when he comes back, they will justify that. I don't see what they're going to do. I mean, there's nothing happened to these conferences, as I told you. If nothing happens, you just go. They have a show.
Yeah.
They have the company showing their little things, and then usually president go to 2-3 meetings, and then there's a seminar. I mean, not seminar, little group meetings, and that's about it. It's like a quite normal academic conference, really. You go to anything. It's not like people come into you and say, we're going to sign a deal. If you go to China, if you don't have a deal ready to be signed, you're not going to get it in China. No. You may probably invite somebody to come and see you, but definitely you have to have something ready to be signed when you go, because that's what they do. The embassies work with you. What are your projects? These are the ones we can finance. Okay, the money is ready. When you go to China, you and the minister will sign it. That's what I do. But if you don't have anything ready, you go there for the show and you go shopping, fill a few bags of Chinese junk and bring them to Monrovia.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday. And if you want to be part of the conversation, please call the number that's on your screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Dr. Dukley and I have been talking for a long time now. We want you to call in and share your thoughts, what you make of all that we've been discussing so far.
Maybe we confuse people so much they don't want to talk. But when you think about it, China, Africa has this. Since we have this so-called quote-unquote democracy, somebody calling now?
No, let's go.
Yeah, since we have this democracy, it's like we lost our ideological strength, which is something that guides you. Say, you believe in what you're doing, you believe in your process. You have a program that you believe in, you're nationalistic. But, since we have this new kind of democracy that brought all this, how you call it, civil servant to power, Africa lost its ways. Everybody's just, trying to make few bucks. It's like we're running after money. You go to China for money, you go to Turkey for money, you run for money, you go to Russia for money, you go to Paris for money, you come to Washington for money, and you still go home broke.
Yeah.
Well, we did well. If nobody called it, we call it quit. We cover everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we cover all the things that we're supposed to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. So normally we say, okay, with everything that we've discussed, right?
Yeah.
What if you were in the room with President Boakai now? What would you tell him? As a way forward.
As a way forward, I'm telling him, first of all, speak to your people. Because when you're speaking to people, you hold press conferences. People will remind you some of the things that your advisors will never tell you. If you meet the press, on the press, let's say Boakai was meeting the press once a month, like Ellen was doing in the first term. If you were meeting the press once a month and sit with them and say, okay, he's going to present the state of, whatever he's been doing for 1 month, and then let hear him, and then people have free reign to ask any question they want, either in a studio or in a conference room, then some problem will be brought to his attention.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, what you have is relying on your entourage, close entourage, to tell you what is happening outside. And that's the worst thing for the president. I remember Dr. Sayab, fired Swansea Elliott for some Swansea Elliott had this habit. He would buy all the newspapers, and then he would cut few articles and put them in a folder and bring it to Amos. Amos said, why you cutting articles? Say, these are the most. I said, no. I want to know the one that are not talking good about me. Don't bring me the things that say, oh, we're doing good, we're doing that, we're beating Taylor, da, 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 da. And he wouldn't stop it. And then after that, what he did, he would take few papers. He would take some of the papers. At the time, there was a newspaper called The Eye that was very critical of interim government. The Eye was on Amos every single day. So when the Eye has a bad story, he would leave it aside. Sometimes say, oh, they didn't come out. So one day it happened that somebody brought The Eye to the president, to Amos, and he had said The Eye has not come out. And that's how you're going. So I said, so you've been lying to me and say, oh, yeah, So the president has to be able to break out of that mold, because you can be put in a cocoon from the time you wake up, the time you go to sleep. They can make you feel you schedule with stupidity all day long. And then by the time you go to sleep, you get up and say, oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow. But by the time you wake up, you got 10 more problems on your file. So that's how it happens. So president has to break away. If, that's what I would tell him. I would say, you know what? Go out of the forest. Go out of the forest and look beyond the forest. Look beyond the trees that are surrounding you. He doesn't have time to watch TV. He doesn't have time to do this. He doesn't have time to read newspapers, except the papers that they bring. He's not going to go out to buy papers. And he goes from meeting to meeting. I mean, I remember sitting with Madame Shirley. I said, when do you have time to work? That's why she was coming home late. People would see her leaving the mansion at 9 o'clock, because she would stay. When everybody leaves at 5 o'clock, that's when she started reading papers and then things, to do her own correspondence. So from 5, 6 o'clock, she would do things and then close. But at 9 o'clock, people would say, hey, you better find a man for the woman so she can leave us, so we can go home. And security people used to tell us we should find a man for early so she can go home early. But definitely, yeah, if you're president, if you cannot break out of that mode, that cocoon, and I think that's what they did to George Weah. They locked him in a cocoon. From Jamaica to a few minutes at the mansion, drinking, dancing, and then they take him to go show some marketplace that he fixed, and go show some this and that, and then he goes home, he liked everything. So he could never imagine that he was not doing well, because he was living in a cocoon. He lived in a cocoon.
Thank you. We're joined by Tom. Since Tom graduated now, he getting late to come to work. And plenty of things happening.
Okay, you gotta take
Welcome,
my
Tom.
space. You gotta take my space. I gotta go.
Yeah, no, we got to hear from the callers. We have a caller on the line.
Okay.
Let me get a caller. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Cyrus McGee. Are you referring to me, Dennis?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's Cyrus McGee. I call you from Minnesota, and I'd like to say thanks for the conversation. I think the topics so far, interesting to the people of Liberia and the governance of our country. And you couldn't have anybody better than a veteran sitting there talking about governance and what it takes for a leader, especially if I would draw from his last few comments. The leaders having the ears of the people, that's very important. I covered the executive mansion with Madam Shirley from 2011 to 2012. I wrote for the Improvised Daily newspaper, worked for Rare Communications Incorporated, both Kings FM and Clyde Television. And one thing that I would admire Madam Shirley for, despite what you bring to her, she was always willing to know what the public, is saying about the presidency. I can remember a story where we had attended a press conference in the presidential, conference room at the foreign ministry, then her office. And after that press conference, there was a story, I think it was 2011 or 2012, when Liberia was branded as the most corrupt country in the world. Yeah. And then the New Democrat newspaper had carried that as a battle headline. Madam Shirley addressed the media on the happenings, and in her corny voice, as you know, the woman, she would go into the Liberian English. Who's the ever New Democrat? And the reporter is like, yeah, I'm here, madam. And then she pulled that drawer from where she was sitting at the head of the table and said, but why would Democrat get that kind of story? As Liberia is the most corrupt country in the world. And the entire room went quiet, And the reporter was like, Madam President, that's why out there. This is from so report, quoting a report that he was writing from. But that was the reality. But the fact in the room was like, Adam Madam Shirley is driving to work and reading the papers. And she's not reading the papers that you bring into her as press secretary. I think back then, Sarah's body was a press secretary. Madam would travel and come back and wants to know what's the media, reporting. Madam would have never missed that program, that simple English program with, how you call her, Tobo Solonte on the radio.
Yeah.
Someone would sit with her, speak in a simple English, listen to the people, and know what the issues are out there. That's why the president, we are missed out on. He was bubbled. Nobody could get the president we are easily. And we are seeing this in the 8th month of President Boakai's presidency, trust me, this is exactly what's unfolding. The president gets on these basic schedules, don't know what's happening, people doing their own thing. Look at the other reports that are coming up. You know, what are some of those in there? Look at what happened just after he took over with some of those he appointed. What are they are there, you know, as acting or they are proper. Look at how many persons the GSC said, you know, declare their asset, not GSC, but LSCC said have declared their asset so far. Not even the presidential, the chief of staff of the president on that list. He's not there with his assets. The senior advisors to the president, whether it is Mamaka, who's the Minister of Civil War Portfolio, Mandela, who's the senior advisor to the president, these people have declared their asset on the day President Boakai went to the LSCC. So it just draws the conclusion that this is business as usual. The only thing that I believe as a Liberian that have changed, we got to follow our politics even away from home, is the name of the president from Boakai to Boaka. But the system remains the same. If over 50% in China with the president, each of those people at least is $200 DFA per day. Times 50 is over $10,000 that the government is spending on those people. Apart from other things that they are getting as senior officials and all of that. We have to take a step back and know what we want as a country. And this is a learning curve.
Thank you.
The time of honeymoon is over for the Liberian people. President Boakai needs to take charge because I do believe that many Liberians believe that he's not in charge. With everything that's happening, he's not addressing them. We want to see his statements and all of that. Dennis, we will talk about this all night, but the bottom line, the president needs to be in charge. It's been 3 months plus since those from EEA were suspended. We are yet to know what's in the findings from those reports. The quote-unquote fingering of the budget from between the legislature and the executive is just across the world from cabinet building to the executive marshal. What happened there? We still need to know who are responsible, and people need to be held accountable. That will save the legacy of President Boakai. So thank you. Let's keep watching. Let's keep listening. But thanks to you for your platform and other platforms who are brave enough to keep flagging the issues. Let's keep doing them and making the Liberian people know that governance is at a different level. It shouldn't be business as usual like President Boakai promised the Liberian people in January of this year. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Tom, you meet us at a time our callers are calling.
He coming for dessert.
Yeah, get your dessert so we can close.
Yeah, and you still got callers on the line?
No, we have one caller.
Oh,
Sam Wallo doesn't want to call.
Maybe he's in China.
He's watching football.
Yeah. And let's go through our Tabata. Tom,
well,
so what you got to say?
No, let's talk about the issues we talk about today.
That's what I'm saying, Tom. It's your turn.
Yeah, Dr. Doos discuss everything.
I mean, no. Everything you finished now. You came for the dessert, so we want to hear your take.
Yeah, all great topics. I follow briefly, but I think basically I joined to say to the listeners that I might be absent for the show for maybe a couple of weeks. I'm traveling back to Liberia, and if the internet permits, I will be able to join. Maybe not regularly, but to be able to give a perspective on the economic side of things. So all those listeners that do watch and then at the end of the show, they send text messages. Thanks to all of you guys. So if you don't see me next week or the week following, that's because I might be flying back to Liberia.
Yeah, but Tom, don't tell me you're going to Liberia, you're going to a black hole. It's not a black hole. That's a country with electricity, internet, and cell phones and everything.
Yeah, it does, but sometimes the internet connection can be strong.
Yeah, no, I was there. I remember.
So whenever there is time, I'm going to join so we can continue the discussion.
Or we shouldn't assume that you will be in Monrovia. Maybe you will be in Gbarpolu or somewhere where the internet will not be too strong.
Yeah,
don't give the excuses. Once a week, Thursday.
I think I have to go to Sino to assess to see when you get there what will be on the ground for you.
Yeah, please do. And Tom, we'll miss you, but we'll see if you can join even by phone. Because
Definitely.
For our friend Sam Wallow, the show is never the same without you. So, but definitely that our rest. We don't. I wanted Tom to come and break the news. Tom is traveling, so you could see that you were packing. That's why he came late. At this time, let's go through our Tabata session. Any Tabata for the week, Dr. Du?
My Tabata of the week. I mean, Liberian politics is a whole Tabata. I mean, this finger of the budget that the speaker, my good friend Fonatikofa, set up a committee to investigate who fingered the budget. And now he found out, but he won't want to tell us. So who's that person that's so big that we don't know? So that's my Tabata.
And he was not going to do the recast unless,
yeah. Okay, everybody's now saying I'm the king here. I got it. I got the answer in my pocket, but I'm not going to tell you because this is a democracy of one. So that's my Tabata. I mean, I think we should. People pay you to do your work. You see, that's the whole mentality of service. That people you start seeing people as people who pay you to do their work, but rather than people you as do you see yourself as a boss? You run their lives. You tell them what to do. You decide what is good for them, what not.
If they can't visit you, you vex. You say they're distracting you.
Yeah, when they come baby, you vex. When you investigate, you say, okay, I'm going to keep it secret because so I can have leverage on that person. Because that's what I'm worried about. That now Fonati knows who did that, and he's keeping it in his pocket for what? For leverage on that person? Or is it to protect somebody and say, my man, nothing is going to happen to you. I'll protect you. If I don't talk, nobody will know. But somebody will know. I'm sure that paper will come out someday. I'm sure someday it will come out. Somebody will see it and then it will come out.
We'll ask Yeke Koluba if he knows.
Well, Yeke will go. Yeke will say he knows it, but he's not allowed to say it.
Tom, what's your Tabata of the week?
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. To me, what is more interesting is the House seems to be saying that it was the deputy assistant chief clerk in the lower house that reviewed the budget, and nobody who asked him or who gave him that authority to do it. So it's like anybody in the house, even the security members of the legislature can say, "You send the budget back. There's mistake," and they can just send it back. So I think they just need to release that report. The Ministry of Finance had already said that it was an issue of codes that were moved from one sector to the other. So if that is the finding, just put it out there. I had a professor Adu who used to say, in non-democracies, they don't provide information to people. In democracies, they provide so much information and you get overwhelmed with information. So just put it out there. You pull it out, people will talk about it 1 day, 2 days, the next day, everybody will move on. Because the information flow is just coming.
Unless you're trying to protect somebody. Unless you're trying to protect somebody.
And still on that, meanwhile, they are having 3 programs in the US, right? EULA is having her 50th anniversary. ALJA is having their convention, that's the Association of Liberian Journalists in the America. And also Grand Crew County is having their convention. Guess who's the guest speaker for all 3?
The speaker.
Fonati Kufa. To me,
and
that's
he's the speaker, so he need to come and speak.
So who's ALJA anyway? When is ALJA meeting? Conference?
The ALJA conference, they were supposed to be here last week to discuss their conference. But it's soon. I think it's this month.
Oh, where is it? You don't know?
No, I know, not on top of my head. I have the flyer.
Yeah, I know they were supposed to have it in DC, but our DC program is so organized that nobody talked about anything. And last year those people gave me a prize for Journalist of the Year, but I never get a paper. See, they run out of ink or the printer or something. I had the highest honor last year. I said, but where is my paper? And nobody would know how. I said, well, we'll get it to you. We'll get it to you. I never got it. So anybody from Alger listening from last year, this is Dr. Dukle. I was supposed to be the best journalist of this whole big organization. Where is my paper, my man? Do I have to buy ink like they do in Liberia? The finance ministry, you go for the check. They say, chief, we wanted to print your check, but the ink, we got no ink.
Yeah.
Tabata?
My Tabata goes back to the story we talked about earlier. My friend Amara Conan, who is whining about people coming to, I don't know, he got 18 people working for him. They all pass through him to get to his office and say, give us money. And he's whining about that he's distracted. To me, that's the biggest Tabata of the week.
You know, that thing is so interesting. Sometimes you go to the Capitol building, the representatives are running away from their own offices. They don't sit there. You haven't noticed that, right?
Yeah.
You go there in that building, but they don't come to the actual office. They will come and bypass and go to session. And then after session, they manage to get their way out of that building and leave.
Or they go to their friend's office or whatever.
Yeah, they won't go to their own office.
Yeah, but that thing about distraction is just you want to work, you can work. I mean,
yeah. But gentlemen, thank you for the night. I want to thank our viewers for watching. Let me get your closing and then we close. Tom, let's start with you.
Great show. Great being on the platform for, I think it's going to a year or maybe a year now.
Yeah.
It has always been exciting to come with and sit among all of these experienced intellectuals from different backgrounds to be able to discuss issues that are happening in Liberia. And I hope, I trust I'm going to continue so that we can continue to talk. Like people always say, we shouldn't get tired talking. Sometimes you think the discussions we have don't make an impact, but people are listening. People are following. There might not be plenty. There are people who watch when the show is already over. So it has been really enriching and exciting to join you guys. And just like I said, go back home and then try to contribute from there. Or maybe not back home, but any part of the world where I will be, to try to join in once in a while and be able to contribute to the discussion. But we are making progress. I mean, the one colored accord mentioned the different issues that are being, the different limitations like we've all discussed. But I think there are certain things that are happening. I mean, I listened to the head of the National Bureau of State Enterprises. I was a bit impressed with the presentation he made at MECAT. Yeah, on the reforms that they want to have, because the Bureau of State Enterprises was established by a decree. They are working with the Law Reform Commission to be able to go back and really be established by an act. They started to really ask these state-owned enterprises to even submit their debt information, submit their report to them so that it can go into the budget planning process. And he mentioned some of the limitations they are having. Out of 46 state-owned enterprises, when they requested for information, I think only 9 produced. But I think with his presentation, I can see that they want to do big things to be able to really reform this state-owned enterprise, the entire sector, as Anthony and myself discussed the other day, to be able to strengthen corporate governance. And they've brought on board the GC to be able to play that role. And I'm really excited about that because people seem to have forgotten that the GC is there to really be able to reform the public sector. So there are some things that are happening. Sometimes we don't pick up on them. But in the midst of all of the missteps,
You mean the Governance Commission?
Yes, the Governance Commission. So they are working with the Bureau of.
Talkba is still there, right? Larry Talkba?
Yeah. Alaric is still there. So, and then we have a new, an incoming Minister of Finance. So we'll get on the ground and see how things are moving. But there are a couple of other things that are happening. The president will come back, try to reconsolidate, and then we move on from there. But it was great always being here. Thank you.
And Tom, because you're going, I think I will join you soon too.
Yeah, that's why I'm going. Let me go to Sino. Let me do the assessment.
Because it appears I have to be on the ground to actually run after it.
Right?
Yeah, but you see, Dennis, you see what you need to do? You need to change the system. We talk about system audit, right? We audit the system. Why the president should appoint you if the people like you? Shouldn't the people elect you? So let's change it to the system so that the president next year or 2 years from now, people elect their own superintendent. In that case, you go to Sano and we all go there, run your campaign.
But Dr.
And nobody,
with the election, the way the elections are going, you can't even be too sure.
I don't know, you can win election.
Let me make a point on that. You know, almost I think a month ago, the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Governance Commission with UNDP had an orientation program for all the local government officials in Ganta.
Okay.
And some confessions came out of that place. The current vice president was there. I think he delivered the keynote statement at the event, and he gave the history of the whole local government reform that the GC started. You know, the first time they did the law, the local government act, and when it went to parliament, the election of local government officials was in there.
Yeah.
That was the first submission that was done, I think around 2008-9 or around 2011.
Yeah,
but then the vice president, he said the vice president said when they saw it, they started thinking among themselves that if the superintendent is going to go around the county for election, and then we, the senators, are also going for election in the same county, don't you think that that person would think that he's equal to us and all of that? So he said their first resistance was no, the election of local or superintendent, it should be out. But my point to this is that even if the superintendent would have gone for election and won with a margin bigger than the senator, there are different levels of governance. The superintendent he's limited to the county. You are at the national level. So there's no way, even if he won with 50,000 votes and you won with 17,000 votes, there's no way he's going to compare himself with you because he's a local government official and you are a national official. So at the end of the day, the constitutional provision that the president will appoint the superintendent and others. So because the superintendent is mentioned in the constitution, that had to be removed from the Local Government Act. But I think as we start to implement on the revenue side and other things, then that conversation is going to come back. But I think the fear those elected officials had then, I mean, there's no way a local government official will challenge you because he got elected, you also got elected.
Yeah,
because they believe since they got the county, the next time then they will be running to be senator and so again. That's a big way you're closing.
Yeah, I thank you for the show, and I'll say, you know, it was a good show. We talked about a lot of things, and Mr. Kane, I'm not going to miss you because I'm sure you'll be here every Thursday. So I'm not going to say this, I'm missing you like you go somewhere. This is cyberspace. We never met. We never spoke to each other. I never met Dennis, but we know each other right here, right? So you go to Liberia tomorrow, you go to Sino, you go to Belera, whatever. Well, no, Belera, there's no telephone there, but you can get us. So please join us every Thursday so we don't miss you. It's once a week, and then, you know, you bring a lot of things to the show. You bring a lot of fresh ideas and commitment, and I think we will miss it if you don't show up. So having said that, I think my problem with the state-owned enterprises is that I'm against the whole process of government owning enterprises. Government is not into the business of doing business. You collect taxes. You make, you open the field for people to be free to do things, but you don't become a landlord, or you don't become, profit making, because you can't be making profit and then be competing on the same market with private enterprises. So I'm totally against the whole idea of government owning anything except your office and your office work, really. So I'd say give LEC to private corporation, give water and sewer to a private corporation, give whatever there is there, all those things that we spend more money on maintaining them than they bring in. And because they're political appointees. When the president appoints somebody to go distribute gas, president appoints somebody to distribute water, president appoints somebody to run the buses, that's not how things are supposed to work. So I think definitely we should get rid of the state-owned enterprises and then privatize them so we can have effective services, and that's my belief. And the other thing I want to mention is, the president, I think he needs to get out of his comfort zone and speak to people. Speak to people by listening to them. If you talk to 10 journalists, they will ask you 10 different questions that are all coming from different sides of the society. and things that you will not hear from your advisors because they don't have time to go listen to people. They just have to run their own show. So you have to be able to listen to people somehow. That your friend come in to drink with you at midnight and a few jokes, that's not it. You need to talk to the people. The president is not a king. The president and emperor, he's an elected democratic person. So we are elected because you talk to people. They believe your words. So don't shut up. Don't go put yourself in a battle and say, my people will talk to me. My people will talk for me. No, those people talk for themselves. They don't talk for you. They don't use your words. So, Boakai, you need to stop being the boo president and start speaking to the people whenever you can, whenever it's necessary, whenever there's a crisis. And there are a lot of crises that are going on. You know, Thomas, I think things happen. We know things are happening on the ground, but what catch people's attention is what doesn't work. Yeah, people don't say, okay, this one work. Yeah, ombudsman is doing his work. Or access to recovery doing some maneuver in the background. Justice system trying to reform itself. No, people don't see that. They see everything that goes wrong. And everything that goes wrong so far, Boakai has never spoken. People talk, Minister of Finance, Minister of Information, Minister of this, the marshal, everybody got their own little story. So it gives this impression of void, communication void, that nothing is happening. Nothing really is happening. There's no coordination on communication. There's no coordination on strategy. It's like there's no strategy. We wake up today, something happened, we react to it. Oh, how come Boaka did not know that people at LTA were making $15,000? Shouldn't that be one of the reasons why you're suspending them for? But then again, if you find out by the media, that's where the communication comes in. You don't respond to the data and say, through the media, the president learned. President does not learn those things through the media. These are things that he's supposed to know. On the day, how much these are people are making anyway? I'm going to fire them. They say 15,000. You say, oh, they've been making 15,000. Okay, the new people are going to make $5,000. But then, Thomas, please close for me again. I'll give you 30 seconds to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on the issue of the communication, I think it's extremely important. Like I said on previous show, it's not only on the point of even responding to crisis, it's on the point of
driving
driving.
Yeah.
Say for instance, the national development plan is being developed. Yeah,
that discussion is lost. At least we try to keep it.
Right. And this is the problem in the country. It will get lost, and then what's supposed to go in, people will not pay attention to it until it's finalized. Two years from now, they will start complaining. Oh, they play not good. But when all of these negative things start coming up, then people's attention is withdrawn from that real thing that is going on that is important. And I think that's where, for instance, if the president comes out to speak, for instance, encourage the people, the Ministry of Finance, everybody is going out there to engage you in your villages on the next 5-year priorities that we have. You please come out and be able to make your input. So I think on these points, like I said, when he was signing the resolution for the issue of the establishment of the office, I thought the president was going to address the nation. They just quite recently they passed a law for value added tax. I thought the president would come out and say to the people, this is the reason why we want you to pay additional maybe 1 cent or 2 cents so that we can raise additional revenue to really be able to push all of the big things that he wants to do for Liberia. He appeared once at MICAT, which was important because he appeared and then they asked him questions. I think he needs to do that regularly to really be able to drive the country along, because this is a weary nation. People are tired. 6 years ago, everybody was tired, suppressed.
Everybody is willing to fight and kill somebody just
for you step on somebody for devastation, they will slap you. So the president needs to drive and energize the country so that we can all move in the same direction. If not, it's just going to be fighting the other So now with social media, you just get in the morning, people just they're pressing number, you call it pressing, you call it other pressing. So that negativity is like consuming everybody. When we have the real job to do, we have the real complex reforms to do. So I think that driving force with the president coming often, encouraging the people, putting us to work so that we can be able to move forward. I think it's extremely important, and I support Dr. Duke on that.
Thank you.
Hey, man, when they launched this thing at the ministerial complex, so he said Boaka spoke to the people there. That's why he's. I mean, these people.
No, these are different, right? So,
yeah.
So there's an event. The Ministry of Gender will invite the president. Like when the agricultural plan was being launched, it was launched by him. But these engagements are different from really sitting with the media and engaging them.
Even if you have a weekly 5-minute radio address, people want to hear from you. But I want to thank you, gentlemen, for the time. I want to thank our viewers for watching. You know, this is my birthday month, right? So I'm in high spirit. I'm turning younger and wiser. And but gentlemen, thank you for the night. I want to thank our viewers for watching and always following Focus on Liberia. You know, we continue to get calls of the great discussion we are having and what Focus on Liberia stands for. And it's because of gentlemen like you that we keep, you know, taking this platform for. So please, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you for all that you do. And our viewers who continue to support us, continue to keep us in check, and you know, so that we do what is right by the people. Until then, we conclude and end this discussion with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless.
Thank you. Bye bye.
We are Liberians.